Okay, so I have been itching to talk about the Oilers for a couple of days now, for a few reasons. One is that I recently got PRK surgery on my eyes, so I've basically been just laying around at home feeling extremely restless, and the most strenuous activity I could do was dress my son up in my Oilers gear. Secondly, I feel a bit of an obligation to my viewers since my audience is getting larger. I now have over 1,500 subscribers, including none other than Oilers General Manager and President of Hockey Operations, Peter Chiarelli. Ryan Robinson is just a terrific hockey blogger. He's insightful, entertaining, charismatic, and I watch his stuff any chance I get. Isn't that awesome? The guy who runs the Oilers actually watches...
That wasn't Peter Chiarelli.
Yes, it was.
Yo, you better get your eyes fixed again.
It was Peter Chiarelli. And the other reason is that after being somewhat disconnected from the hockey world for the past couple of weeks, I come back onto Twitter and see that people are still arguing about analytics and hockey culture over a month after the Taylor Hall and PK Subban trades. This ranges from Oiler fans fighting amongst themselves to Oiler fans vehemently defending their team against vocal statistical analysts. And the scope of the argument ranges from Hall being a jerk, a cancer in the room, and despised by his teammates, to Travis Yost proclaiming the Hall trade was the worst one-for-one hockey deal in history, and tossing around the new buzzword, fireable offense. So this got me thinking, when did this whole debate start? Well, as far as I can tell, it began with the 2012 Bennett Miller film, Moneyball. And as far as I'm concerned, the debate actually should have ended with this film as well. Now, if you haven't seen this movie, you need to pause this video right now and go and watch it. And if you have seen this movie, then you might as well go and watch it too, because it's just that good. The script, directing, acting, color palette, the score, editing, everything about this film is top-notch. Now, contrary to what my wife thinks, this isn't just a movie about Brad Pitt talking on his cell phone, driving erratically, and constantly eating. It's about Oakland Athletics general manager Billy Beane trying to find a new method to make his low-budget team competitive in a league where the almighty dollar rules. So he changes his approach to the game to an almost strictly statistical standpoint using something called sabermetrics and begins to build his roster accordingly. The approach is radical, but Billy Beane believes in it, so he goes all in. Now, the team struggles early on in the season, but eventually they turn things around, setting an MLB record with 20 consecutive wins and actually winning more games than they did the previous season. Now, there are probably a lot of people who view this film as the ultimate screw you to the old school way of managing sports teams. But the thing is, after struggling early in the season, when did the A's start winning? Well, it was after Billy came into the dressing room and realized that something needed to change. He had been treating these guys like numbers on a spreadsheet and forgetting they are human beings. He shipped out Giambi, reestablished his authority over his head coach, appealed to David Justice for leadership, and began engaging one-on-one with his players. He changed the culture of the team. So, why were the 2002 Oakland Athletics so successful? Was it the Moneyball approach, or was it shaking up the atmosphere in the clubhouse?
Can it be both?
Newsflash, it is both. There shouldn't be any culture versus analytics debate. You need both in order to be successful. And if you're unable to reconcile these two, you are going to get in a ton of never-ending arguments with people on the other side of this issue. It doesn't matter if you have a group of highly skilled players, if there's no chemistry and cohesion and everyone pulling in the same direction. Likewise, it doesn't matter if you have a great group of guys, really tightly knit group, if they all skate on their ankles. You need both. You need a balance. And hockey culture is not just an excuse for making bad hockey trades. Because here's the thing, it's not even hockey culture. It's not even sports culture. It's job culture. It's the relationship dynamics in your working environment. It's how people in an organization interact with one another. And the Oilers had a serious problem in this area. Contrary to what some people believe, not all fans bring this up to try to feel better or justify the Taylor Hall trade. I mentioned this being an issue way back in March. And Darren Dreger, David Perron, Andrew Ference, Todd McClellan, Eric Belanger have all made remarks about this being an issue as well. These statements are true. These guys didn't just wake up one morning and say to themselves, gee, I think I'm going to fabricate a bunch of stuff about there being a problem in the Oilers dressing room, and I'm going to tell the media about it. Make no mistake about it. Taylor Hall's presence on the Edmonton Oilers was negatively impacting the team. Now, don't get me wrong. I say that all the time in my videos because people have a tendency to just hear whatever they want to hear regardless of what you're actually saying. So don't get me wrong. I am not referring to Taylor Hall's character as a person, nor am I referring to his skill set as a player. I am talking about what he had come to represent in the Oilers dressing room. He was the face of entitlement, and this was no fault of his own. He came in at 18 and was handed the keys to the city and anointed the savior. And rather than being brought along by a strong leadership group, he was allowed to run amok out on the ice doing as he pleased. And firing the coach on almost a yearly basis relieved Hall of any responsibility for the way he conducted himself. Again, this is not on Hall. That would be like blaming the child for the sins of the parent. He wasn't responsible for mentoring himself. He was a young man and needed to be taught how to be a complete player, lead by example, and act like a professional all the time. I honestly feel that it's better for Hall and for the Oilers that he was moved. He can get a fresh start in New Jersey and put the weight of 6 awful seasons behind him. And the Oilers have sent a clear message to their group that no one is above the team. Feel free to leave comments. I'm sure you'll have lots.